The Winter War by Priscilla Shirer with Gina Detweiler. Epilogue. Back to the beginning. The rec center was full of people. Levi couldn't find any place to sit. So many people had come out for the memorial service. Most of them Levi had never seen before. Levi's mom had decided to have the reception for Mr. J.R. at the rec center since it had been such a big part of his life. People brought a ton of food. They cried as they told their stories of how Mr. J.R. had affected their lives. Everyone was eating and talking and crying, but there was laughter sprinkled in with all the tears. Happy memories, a sweetness they wanted to savor a little longer. After a while, Levi went outside to the playground. There had been a thaw, and the snow had melted. It wasn't as cold as before, and tender green patches of grass were starting to break through the dead ground. He wandered over to the swings and sat on one. It was still wet from the melting snow, but he didn't care. He could see the skateboard park and thought about going to get his board. Maybe he could do a little skating. He needed to do something. Then he looked over at the basketball court where his father had spent so much of his time. He smiled at the memory of his big burly dad charging up and down the court with his famous whistle, encouraging and correcting the players in his blooming voice. Levi had never really liked playing basketball. Now he wished he had, so he could have spent even more time with his dad. Levi reached into his pocket and took out the glimmer glass. He held it to his eye. He didn't know if it worked outside of Horatoss, if he could see what others couldn't see. He aimed it at the basketball court, but it was still empty. Looking for someone? He flinched, startled. He looked up to see a beautiful white bird sitting on a branch in a nearby tree. The bird appeared to be looking right at him. "Did you just talk?" he asked, staring at the bird. "You've never heard a bird talk before?" "Okay, I'm imagining things now." Levi stood up to leave. "Levi?" Levi turned slowly around and looked at the bird. "Are you who I think you are?" he asked, but he didn't have to ask. He knew already. This wasn't Rue or his father. This was the source. "Look for me and you will find me," said the bird. "Look not with your eyes, but with your heart." Levi felt dizzy, his vision blurring with tears. "Levi!" A voice called from the rec center. "Brianna." The bird suddenly flew up into the sky and disappeared. Levi got to his feet, though his legs were shaking. Brianna came running to him. "We were wondering where you went." The others came also, his friends. Levi turned around and smiled at them. Their faces were kind, sympathetic, and a little anxious. "Oh, hey," Levi said. "What are you doing out here?" Ivy asked. "It's kind of cold." "Oh, I was thinking it might be fun to play a little basketball." The others were silent a moment, looking at each other. Then Evan spoke up. "Good idea, I'm in. I'll go get the ball." He raced back to the rec center. "I'll play," said Finn. "Me too," said Ivy. "I'm not very good, but I'll give it a try," said Manuel. "I can't play," said Xavier, indicating his crutch, "but I'll ref if you want." Evan returned with a ball and Mr. J.R.'s whistle. He handed them to Xavier, who lifted the whistle carefully and put it over his head. They all went out onto the basketball court, which was filled with puddles from the melting snow. They picked teams. Evan, Ivy, and Finn against Levi, Manuel, and Brianna. They gathered around Xavier, waiting for the whistle. Xavier put the whistle in his mouth and held the ball out for the toss. "Ready?" Xavier asked. "I'm ready," said Levi. Xavier blew the whistle, and Levi jumped higher than he had ever jumped before.